think it's safe to say that financially, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is doing better than anyone expected, or at least better than I expected. Back when we found out that Illumination, aka the Minions guys, were working on this movie, I won't lie, I was nervous. But then, all my worries vanished when we got the cast list and found out that Seth Rogen was going to be Donkey Kong. Look, I don't think I need to explain the roller coaster of emotions us true gamer Mario fans felt the more and more information we got about this movie. Some of it looked great, but there were still some aspects of it that weren't. But time moves on, as it tends to do, and eventually my ass was sitting in AMC theaters to watch this movie for myself. So, what'd I think? We'll get there, I promise, but after I had a few days to let my thoughts on the movie sit, I remembered that this wasn't the first time Nintendo gave the rights to Mario away to make a movie about him. It was actually their third. And since I'm me, I couldn't help but think to myself, which of these films is not only giving us the best story, but also the best interpretation of the world of Super Mario? The Super Mario world, if you will? We have 3 films we're going to talk about, all released at vastly different points in the Mario timeline. We're going to be going through each Mario movie and see how they hold up not only as films, but also as Mario adaptations. We're going to be taking everything into account. How well written the script is, how good the interpretations of the characters are. Basically, my unfiltered thoughts on all of these. So, let's get started with the weirdest one. Wait, did I say there were 3? Not only is this the first movie based on Super Mario Bros., but it's also the first video game movie ever, along with something called Running Boy Star Soldier Secret, but who cares about that? Comment down below if you're a true Running Boy Star Soldier Secret Squad member! Super Mario Bros. Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was released in 1986, which is interesting, because that means that the latest Mario game to come out at the time was Super Mario Bros. 2. Not the American one, the Japanese one, the one us silly goose Americans call the Lost Levels. The reason I even bring this up is because, there wasn't a lot of source material to work with, so they had to take a lot of creative liberties with this movie. Not that I'm holding that against the movie or anything, it just means that the writers and directors and everyone are gonna have to really stretch those creative muscles to give this a coherent plot. This movie was made by a film company called Grouper Productions, with Masa Mihata directing. Now, I looked up Grouper Productions to see what they've done in the past and after this movie, but I didn't really find anything of note, except for my main man, Kero P. They did, a Christmas special with him, but besides that, there was really nothing of note. But the director, Masa Mihata, directed loads of other anime films and TV shows in the past, including 4 episodes of the Lilo and Stitch anime, and the episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Shigechi and Harvest, for those in the know. Look, I couldn't find another place to talk about JoJo's in this video, and here was the opportunity I was looking for, so I took it. To give a very short plot synopsis, Mario was at home one day playing video games when a princess jumps out of the TV, asking Mario for help with an unknown threat. Shortly after, an evil turtle with spikes on its back jumps out of the TV, grabs the princess, and jumps back in. Now, keen-eyed viewers might have realized that that princess was Princess Peach. And the turtle? Dude, would you believe me if I told you it was Bowser? The next morning, Mario and his brother Luigi go to work at their grocery store. Luigi is focusing on his work like a good capitalist, but Mario just can't get the princess out of his head. This all culminates when a weird dog thing named Kibidongo comes to the store, runs in, steals the necklace that Peach threw at Mario before being kidnapped, and leads the two brothers to the mysterious Mushroom Kingdom. Ooh! As it turns out, Mario and Luigi are the heroes of this prophecy that are going to rescue Peach from Bowser's evil clutches. A wizard explains to them that the only way to do this is to gather the 3 power-ups scattered across the land, which consist of a mushroom, a flower, and a star, to even have a chance at defeating Bowser. So they set off, with Mario's goal being to rescue the princess and maybe win over a little Smoochie, and Luigi's to get as much gold as he possibly can, since this kingdom is apparently rich. The wizard also tells the dog thing Kibidongo to follow them and help as much as a dog thing can. Mario and Luigi are easily able to find the 3 power-ups, make their way to Bowser's castle, and save the day. All of Bowser's evil misdeeds are washed away from the kingdom. This includes the weird dog thing Kibidongo turning into the very handsome Prince Haru. The prince and princess proclaim their love for each other, much to the disappointment of Mario, as he and Luigi head back to their home. And that's the movie, and I didn't even get to talk about my favorite parts. Let's take a second to digest the absurdity of it all. The movie clocks in at a little bit over an hour, but the way it drags would make you feel like it's much longer than that. The majority of the plot that I just described occurs in like the first 15 minutes and the last 10 minutes of the movie. That entire middle chunk is just filled up with shit. It's not actually shit. It's Mario and Luigi walking around from destination to destination with this admittedly catchy pop tune playing.
Yes, yes, gonna love you, yeah. Yes, yes, gonna love you, yeah.
And that's fine, a pop song's allowed to be in a movie, but they recycle the same animation and the same song 3 separate times. One of those times is interrupted by Mario and Luigi eating some Mario brand ramen. I shit you not, Mario looks at the camera and goes, "This stuff is really good, guys." It's like when a YouTuber puts an ad break in the middle of a video. This video is sponsored by Grammarly. This video is not sponsored by... We're not sponsored by Grammarly. We're not sponsored by Grammarly. It was a joke. Overall, I guess I enjoyed the movie for what it was, even if it didn't know what it was doing half the time. At least it's coherent? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's good, but I wouldn't say it's bad. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's mid. And that's pretty much it for the story, so that leads us with the adaptation of the source material, you know, Super Mario Bros. Ever heard of it? I bet that you're thinking that they don't take into account a lot of the Mario lore that's been built up through the years. I mean, like, how could they, with a time machine? But for the little amount of Mario lore that there was, they actually kind of follow it a little bit. So in the original Super Mario Bros., there was an emphasis on shapeshifting. Whenever you got to the end of the world and defeated Bowser with a fire flower, it was revealed to not actually be Bowser, but a Koopa or Goomba or whatever in disguise as Bowser. Also, if you look at the game's manual, you'll get this description.
One day, the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic. The quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stones, bricks, and even field horsehair plants, and the mushroom kingdom fell into ruin. The only one who can undo the magic spell on the mushroom people and return them to their normal selves is the Princess Toadstool, the daughter of the Mushroom King. Unfortunately, she is presently in the hands of the Great Koopa Turtle King. Mario, the hero of the story, maybe, hears about the mushroom people's plight and sets out on a quest to free the Mushroom Princess from the evil Koopa and restore the fallen kingdom of the mushroom people. You are Mario! It's up to you to save the mushroom people from the black magic of the Koopa.
Okay, a lot to take in there, but first of all, what the fuck did they mean maybe? Did the game devs not believe in Mario, the hero of their story? Anyway, that's irrelevant. Let's focus on that blurb as a whole. If that's all the information you have about the story of Super Mario Bros., I would say that the writers did a pretty decent job of adapting it into a film. They added their own things like Kibidongo and the Wizard and the ramen, but it still works. The themes of Bowser and the Koopas using dark magic is very prevalent through this movie, which I feel like is something they have to have lifted from this description. Circling back to that shape-shifting thing I was talking about before, there's a scene in this movie where Mario rescues a bunch of mushroom retainers from being turned into bricks and grass and flowers, and just like the manual description! Pog! Despite the movie following the little amount of Mario lore that there was at the time, as just a film, it's disjointed and weird. It moves so slow, but doesn't take things slow enough for them to make sense. There are just blatant advertisements that completely interrupt the flow of a scene. Mario almost loses his final fight with Bowser because his curry rice flavoring is so good, you guys. Order now while supplies last. And even though this film is kind of insane, I don't think I'd want it to be any other way. If you have like an hour to kill and you also kind of like Mario a little bit, I mean, I'd watch it. It's a piece of video game and film history or whatever, I guess, so it's worth watching just for that. But if you don't care about any of that, then there's no reason to watch this. Like, don't even bother. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't think I'd ever watch this again unless forced to. So yeah, as a piece of Super Mario media, I guess it succeeds. But as a film, it's just kind of a snooze fest. And if you think that's bad, oh man, where to start? Probably the beginning, hello? So, while The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was the first video game movie ever, this was the first live-action video game movie ever. It's insane how the Super Mario Bros. Franchise holds 2 different film records for 2 different movies, and honestly could even get a third one with the third movie. We'll get there, I promise. Production of this movie all started when movie producer Roland Joff got the film rights to the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. Nintendo at the time thought that the Mario brand was so strong that they didn't need to be as stingy with it as, let's say, Disney with Mickey Mouse. Experimentation, in their eyes, could even be a good thing for the series. And that alone honestly explains so much. Not even like why the movie is the way it is, but also why Nintendo's so stingy with their IPs nowadays. Imagine the 1-2 punch that was this movie, then Hotel Mario, which came out a year later. It makes sense that they'd want a stranglehold on how their characters and worlds are presented, because clearly other people don't know what the fuck they're doing. So anyway, the movie. The writers wanted this movie to be, and I quote, a submersive comedy influenced by Ghostbusters and The Wizard of Oz. And honestly, from that lens, I guess I can kinda see what they were going for. I do see some similarities, like The Wizard of Oz and Super Mario Bros. 93 are both isekai. Okay, if you're not a loser like me, an isekai is this Japanese anime trope where one character gets transported from their world to, like, this new magical world where the majority of the story takes place, and I just think it's so funny to call an American classic like The Wizard of Oz an isekai, so you're just gonna have to bear with me on this. As far as Ghostbusters influence, well, like, this movie uses a lot of practical effects for, like, the monsters, and I'm pretty sure Ghostbusters did that too. I don't know, man. Okay, we're at the point where I have to talk about the movie now.
What do we do? I'm getting arrested for being a plumber. Try his number down.
Okay, let's do this. I'm just gonna come right out and say that I think this movie sucks. Not even in, like, the so bad it's good kind of way. It's just so bad. Now, over the years, I've heard some people say that this movie is actually like a fun, Blade Runner-esque sci-fi adventure, if you just ignore the fact that it's based off of Super Mario Bros. And I tried to go into the movie with that mentality, but man. Alright, this is the part where I gotta get the corkboard. Yeah, the corkboard! You know what fucking YouTubers I watch. We start off the film with an egg being dropped off at an orphanage. That egg then hatches into a newborn child. Fast forwarding 20 years, we're introduced to the Mario Brothers. I know that some of these pictures look like shit. I like to put it bluntly. I printed them out and the printer was having a moment, so we're just gonna pretend that it was always intended to look like that, you know? Anyway, the Super Mario Bros! Woo! They're a plumbing duo, but they might be going out of business soon since they can't compete with a rival group, Scapelli Construction. Things change for them, though, when Luigi meets Daisy. She's an archaeologist who's fascinated with dinosaurs and is currently excavating some meteor fragments found in Brooklyn. Luigi starts to develop a crush on Daisy, and Mario pushes Luigi to ask her out on a date. Daisy agrees, and the two, along with Mario and his iconic girlfriend, Daniela, go out to a nice restaurant. That night, as Luigi is walking Daisy back home, Daisy starts to talk about her excavation project and takes Luigi over to see it so he can get a better look. This doesn't turn out as well as they expected, though, as the entire site is being flooded. Luigi and later Mario decide to help in any way they can, which eventually leads them to the sewers. As it turns out, Scapelli Construction is purposefully flooding the site so they can get back to building their, building or whatever they were doing. While underground, they're spotted by two goth punk cronies named Iggy and Spike. They knock out the bros and kidnap Daisy. When the bros come to, they follow Daisy, who was kidnapped by Iggy and Spike, through this portal that leads them to this backwards version of New York City. This is Dino Hatton, a land where the humans evolved from dinosaurs instead of primates. Their ruler is King Koopa, a man who's hell-bent on taking over the real New York City, as this dinosaur dimension doesn't have enough resources to keep them all alive. In order to achieve this goal, he needs a fragment of the meteor that wiped out all of the dinosaurs, because apparently that'll allow him to travel between the dinosaur dimension and monkey dimension. As it turns out, Daisy is in possession of this meteorite fragment. Or at least she was. You see, when she was being kidnapped by Iggy and Spike and Luigi went to go save her, Luigi reached out to try to grab her, but only managed to grab the fragment which Daisy was wearing as a necklace. So now Luigi has it. Except he doesn't, for you see, when him and Mario initially went to Dino Hatton, they were robbed by this woman named Big Bertha. Just a reminder that this is a movie about this. So eventually, King Koopa, realizing that the Mario Brothers have this pennant, even though they don't, goes to jail to try to, like, swindle it out of them. Mario and Luigi got sent to jail for, like, disturbing the peace or something. I don't know. We're not even halfway through this movie plot synopsis, so we're just gonna have to keep going. King Koopa finds out that they don't have it, gets mad, and threatens to de-evolve them using his de-evolution chamber. It's essentially this machine that you sit in, and it makes you evolve backwards. To show this machine's capabilities, he throws Toad inside. I didn't mention him, but he's been following the Mario Brothers, and it doesn't matter, he's not relevant to the plot. And anyway, he de-evolves him to look like a Goomba, which looks like this. I love his stupid face, like, look at him. Mario and Luigi, not wanting to turn into this chucklefuck over here, make their escape by pushing Bowser into the de-evolution chamber, turning it on, and running away. While Koopa's cronies stumble to get him out, the bros escape via police car, outchase some cops that are chasing them, and eventually end up at the large, sprawling Koopa-Hari Desert, right outside of Dino Hatton. Iggy and Spike, those two cronies that kidnapped Daisy, approach Koopa and say that they know the whereabouts of the Super Mario Brothers. To assure that they don't fail again, Koopa puts them in the de-evolution chamber to, like, super evolve them to make them really smart. For you see, dear chat, the de-evolution chamber can also speed up the evolution process, which means big brains for silly henchmen. It doesn't matter, they get caught anyway. The bros get Iggy and Spike to spill the beans on why they're so interested in Daisy to begin with. They explain that she's the lost princess of the realm. She was that baby that we saw hatch out of the egg at the beginning of the movie. And that meteorite fragment that she had will allow Koopa to transport his army from Dino Hatton to the real New York City. Luigi, coming up with an idea to save Daisy, comes up with a little trade. They'll give them the pennant back if they get Daisy back. The goons agree, and they're off to find Big Bertha at the Boom Boom Bar to get the necklace back. You didn't need to know the name of the Boom Boom Bar, it's just fun to say, try it. Boom Boom Bar. Mario finds Big Bertha and attempts to seduce her. Ooh, it doesn't work, he gets punched in the face. This doesn't stop Mario though, he tries again, and this time he's a little bit more successful. Big Bertha commands that Mario dance with him, and while this dance is going on, Mario sneakily tries to get the pennant off of her neck. Meanwhile, Lena, King Koopa's wife who I didn't mention, storms the place with some Goombas after being tipped off that the Marios might be here. Big Bertha, I guess being inspired by Mario's, decides to help and gives Mario her Thwomp Stompers, which are essentially these super boots. What follows next is your typical, like, rescue scene. Mario and Luigi bumble around some henchmen to try to get to Daisy. Meanwhile, Daisy is attempting to escape with the help of the Toad turned Goomba that, I guess, still remembers her somehow. Maybe he's just a nice guy, you know? Iggy and Spike are suspected of helping the Mario Brothers and are listed as traitors by Koopa, and greenlights their execution. Meanwhile, Lena tries to explain to Koopa that she has the meteorite piece now, I guess, but Koopa doesn't want to listen to her. So Lena then decides to actually be a traitor and work on her own, since she's a little jealous that Koopa likes Daisy and not her. This all culminates back at the portal area underground. Lena is ready to teleport away using the power of the meteorite and Daisy, because I guess Daisy is also needed for the teleportation to work. She attempts to leave, but fails, causing her to melt. Then King Koopa takes her place and successfully teleports to Brooklyn, ready to begin his reign. His reign consists of turning one person into a monkey, and then he gets fucking obliterated by the Mario Brothers. Then Mario says something like, "Well, Luigi, it's time we get some spaghetti and meatballs." And there you have it. There's the plot. Sorry, I know I kind of went a little overboard, but it was with purpose. I didn't want to name drop somebody like Big Bertha and have you all go like, huh? What? Huh? So I felt that this plot synopsis was very necessary. I thought that the great mission to rescue Princess Peach was convoluted, but no, that was just weird. This is convolution. That's a word, right? Convolution? So one big defense I always hear about this movie, and I mentioned it before, is that if you remove it from the Mario license, it still stands on its own. Sure, it fails as a Mario adaptation, but there's still fun to be had as just, like, a movie, right? I'll start off with some things that I liked. Bob Hoskins here, the man, the boy. His performance was great in this movie. I really like that he's this, like, tired, gruff old man that's only interested in being a small-time plumber, and that's it. He's not some big hero longing for a big quest in life. He's just a guy. Every time Bob Hoskins tried to be funny in this movie, it succeeded. His delivery was top-notch. If you're like a fan of Bob Hoskins, I would check out this movie just to see his performance. The special effects are also incredible, especially for the time. This movie plays in on the whole dinosaur aspect of the Mario world, so there's a lot of dinosaur-like creatures with scales and claws, and it all just looks very great. Some of these reptilian goons look particularly rancid, and I love that. It makes me miss these practical effects in movies, because it's something we never really see anymore nowadays. The Goombas look grimy and nasty, but like these real Cronenbergian monsters I can touch with my hands. It's a sight to behold. And that really goes for every creature design in this movie, like the Bob-ombs. The Bob-ombs are like these little wind-up toys, and I think that's the best interpretation you can make for a Bob-omb that isn't just literally making it a Bob-omb. Even the CGI effects, as primitive as they are for today's standards, still look pretty good. When someone's getting zapped in the de-evolution chamber, it looks decent. The special effects are so good that it's like the one bullet point they have on the back of the box. Here, let me show you. Hold on. Ugh. Eye-popping special effects. And, like, yeah, unfortunately, that's all the nice things I can say about this movie. It's time to move on to everything else. I already said that I loved Bob Hoskins, but the same cannot be said for his brother-in-arms, John Leguizamo. John Luigi Leguizamo. Luigi, for all intents and purposes, is the main character of this movie. Sure, Mario's pretty much always with Luigi. You rarely see a scene with one and not the other, but Luigi's the driving force here. He's the reason why so many of these plot elements happen to begin with. And John Leguizamo plays him as like this 90s cool kid. Like, imagine the kind of character you think this guy is. Imagine this guy had his own TV show or movie or whatever. Well, you don't have to imagine it, because that movie is Super Mario Bros. 1993. He's just not a character I'm rooting for, dude. I don't care if he saves the world and gets the girl. I want him to go back to 11th grade and pass his math midterm. It's very, how do you do, fellow kids energy, you know? It's like some 70-year-old wrote what he thought a cool person in the 90s would act like. I have nothing of note to say about Samantha Mathis, who played Princess Daisy. She did fine. Nothing stand out, but nothing egregious. And that's it. Next is Dennis Hopper, our King Koopa. I think he did bad too, but I don't want to say that, or at least I'm scared to, because with Leguizamo and Hoskins, I at least know what they're capable of, because I've seen them in other movies. I can't speak on Samantha Mathis, to be fair, but anyway, all this to say, I don't know if long, boring, drawn-out speeches are like a Dennis Hopper specialty, or if he was just given particularly bad direction, but nothing he says lands the way I think the directors wanted it to. He reminds me of the narrator from that Gorillaz song, Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head, in how mundane he delivers it. But in that song, the mundane delivery worked because of its themes. It's a song about these happy people becoming melancholy and scared of the world around them due to the exploitation of a select few. But here, Dennis, buddy, you're the big bad of this movie. You're supposed to be delivering these lines like a menacing villain, not some guy in a court of law. That was an interesting comparison you made, though. Oh, thank you, I didn't even realize. You want to know who actually did the narration for that song? Well, guess what? It was Dennis Hopper. I wish you could have seen my face when I researched that. I swear to God, I had no idea he narrated that song before I looked it up. So I guess I have witnessed Hopper's acting before, so I guess that means that I can say that I think that he probably wasn't the best choice for King Koopa? Maybe, please. We need somebody in this role who's a dickhead and likes that they're a dickhead. The way this character is written, to me at least, is like this slimy, nasty politician who puts on a happy face for the public, but behind closed doors, he's a monster. And here, we get Monkey. I don't want it to come across like I'm saying Hopper is a bad actor. Besides that one Gorillaz song, I've never seen anything that he's done, so it's not really fair for me to comment on his acting. I just think that a dry performance was not what this villain needed. The lukewarm acting isn't the only problem, though. The story is a mess, too. If you couldn't tell from my plot synopsis, they really tried to cram as much as they can into the story, and the end result is something that just feels very rushed and cobbled together. Like, for instance, towards the middle of the film, when Iggy and Spike get captured by the Mario Brothers, we get this whole lore dump about how Daisy's father is still alive, but so de-evolved that he's this fungus monstrosity, and that Daisy's mom brought Daisy to the real world to help prevent her from getting executed. King Koopa mushroomified the original king, Daisy's father, so he could seize power. Did we really need all of this in a movie that just feels jam-packed with bullshit as it is? Can't Koopa just be a corrupt leader and that's it? Plus, if this dino dimension really is such a shithole, wouldn't the original king want to do anything to help with that? Wouldn't he want to take over the real world so that way he could have a better world for his people? That's the thing with this film, it just keeps making me ask why. Why is Daisy also a key that's needed to open up a portal to the real world and not just the meteorite? Why did King Koopa think it was a good idea to make Iggy and Spike smart if the reason he likes de-evolution is to make his subjects stupider? Why did Big Bertha steal the meteorite at the beginning of the movie from Mario and Luigi, besides she was just being a dick? I know a lot of the answers to these questions are, well, it's a movie, it's not real life. Weird things in movies happen all the time to get the plot to move along, and like, I get that to a certain extent, but usually that's a reservation I save for good movies that have like one or two things that don't make sense if you really think about it. Super Mario Bros. 1993 doesn't have one or two little things. It has like 15. And these aren't questions that I asked myself long after the movie was over and I had time to think about it. They were questions I asked almost immediately after they happened. And all these little things really add up in the end. Again, I know that this movie has its fans, and I'm not trying to say that their opinions are invalid or anything, but it's just that for me personally, a lot of this plot stuff didn't work. Now that we've talked about the movie on its own merits, let's talk about it as an adaptation of the Mario property. Now, I want to remind you that we're in the year 1993. The latest Mario game to come out was Super Mario World. The N64 and everything that happened after it does not exist yet. So that being said, I think the dinosaur angle that this movie goes for is actually a really smart idea. Yeah, you weren't expecting a positive, now were you? Mario World heavily features dinosaurs. Hell, it was the game Yoshi was introduced in, and I'm pretty sure that that game takes place in Dinosaur Land, not the Mushroom Kingdom. I say I'm pretty sure, but I'm not pretty sure. I know for a fact because I looked it up. I guess in hindsight, it's a little weird that we're claiming that Bowser, the Koopas, and even Toad are all dinosaur-adjacent people, but I mean, like, it's not really that big of a deal. I guess turtles and dinosaurs are, like, close enough when you think about it. I don't have anything for mushrooms and dinosaurs, though. Speaking of Bowser, they never call him Bowser once in this whole movie. He's always referred to as King Koopa, or President Koopa, or sometimes just Koopa. I think that's a holdover from the cartoon. For those not in the know, animation company DiC used to produce a TV show called The Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and in that, King Koopa is never referred to as Bowser, he's always King Koopa. And again, I just think it's so strange. Like in the manual for the original Super Mario Bros. 1, he's called Bowser, King of the Koopas. So, you think that they would use that name more often. You see, Koopa to me was always the race of turtles that existed in the Mario worlds, not the name of one guy. But in Japan, he's not called Bowser, he's just called Koopa, so what I'm saying is that I'm nitpicking about nothing here, and we have to stop, because if I don't stop me, no one will. Now, let's talk about those two cronies, Iggy and Spike. In the movie lore, they're Bowser's cousins. Okay, sure. But where do the names Iggy and Spike come from? Iggy Koopa, in the context of the early Mario games, is one of Bowser's 7 children. Granted, they changed that later on, but we're in the 90s right now, so he's still one of Bowser's spawn. So fine, whatever. They want to change him from his son to his cousin to make it less child abusey. I can understand that. So you'd think then perhaps the other name, Spike, was also lifted from one of Bowser's children at the time, right? No, he's just some random Mario 3 enemy. It's like a stupid, petty thing to complain about, I know, and the name ultimately doesn't matter. But if the name doesn't matter, then why didn't you take it from one of the other Koopalings? Why not make it Roy or Ludwig or Morton? Or hell, I'd even take Larry. It's just so strange to me, because they had perfectly fine names to choose from, but instead, it's like they flipped through the strategy guide for Mario 3 until they found a name they liked. Aw, honey, what do you think of Charge and Shock? You know what, though? We're missing an entire character from this movie, and I'd argue that it's a pretty important one, too. Princess Peach Toadstool is completely absent from this movie, which is just so weird to say. She's like the third or fourth Mario character you think of when naming Mario characters, so like, why isn't she here? Well, I have some theories, if you'll let me indulge. I mean, like, I'd hope you'd let me indulge. You've been watching this video. Could you imagine if somebody said, no, I won't let you indulge, and just, like, closed out of the video? Honestly, you're based if you did that. I think that Daisy in this movie was always supposed to be Peach. She's the daughter of the king, who got turned into a mushroom, literally called Princess Daisy throughout most of the movie, but somewhere throughout writing this or filming it or whatever, they must have realized how weird it was that Peach and Luigi ended up together, when the pairing is usually Mario and Peach. Maybe it was some Nintendo intervention? Maybe this was the one and only time the writers just wanted to follow the game lore? I truly don't know. But if you ignore that Luigi gets with Daisy at the end of this movie, it makes so much more sense for her to be Peach. I don't know if they intentionally chose the name Daisy because of Super Mario Land, a game that was out at the time, or if they just got really lucky with the name Daisy. But either way, Luigi and Daisy did end up as an item over the years, so it worked out. It was like a happy accident. Like me. So I guess Peach not being in this movie makes sense in that context, but if you're not gonna call her Peach because she ends up with Luigi, wouldn't it make sense to call the woman Mario is dating Peach? Yeah, remember Daniela? I brought her up like once because she's not that relevant, but she does show up in a bunch of scenes, so like, why not call her Peach, just to say that Peach is in the movie? I don't know, man, I'm starting to think that this movie might not have been well thought out. And I feel confident in saying that. You wanna know why? The most damning thing about this movie is that the Super Mario Brothers aren't even brothers! They're not brothers! Like, huh? It's called Super Mario Bros. How do you fuck that up? It's just so weird to me that they wouldn't even try to do that. In the context of the movie, it's supposed to be this bonding point between Luigi and Daisy. You see, Luigi was dropped off on Mario's doorstep as a kid, like Daisy was dropped off at the orphanage. So Mario has always been Luigi's brother, father, grandfather, friend, basically his caretaker. And, I mean, that's all well and good. They don't need labels. It's not like they're in a movie with brothers in the title! So yeah, not a big fan of this movie. As a film, I'm just left bored and annoyed, two things I should never feel when watching a movie, and as a Mario adaptation, I mean, what else do I have to say? The only thing this movie adapted were the names of, like, characters and shit, and sometimes they couldn't even be bothered to do that. In my opinion, you shouldn't watch this movie unless you like watching bad films with your friends or something. This'll work great for that. I just, like, but why aren't they brothers? And with that, I can't throw the corkboard. Oh, I'll get rid of it. That leads us to today. We got our 80s Mario movie, our 90s Mario movie, but nothing after that. Until 2023, when Illumination, in association with Nintendo, jump-scared us with... I think that the release and success of the Sonic movie really pushed a lot of other video game companies to start adapting their properties into films. Video game movies before this point were nothing new, but they were almost universally seen as shitty cash grabs. In the 90s, we got Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, the 2000s gave us Resident Evil and Doom. Hell, I'd argue that Super Mario Bros. 1993 in a way started this trend. None of them were hitting the mark, at least not for the most part. I think Resident Evil 2002 has some defenders, at least judging from the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I wasn't actively participating in movie discourse in 2002. I could barely spell my name. And in the late 2010s, like clockwork, that pattern continued. Sega and Paramount released the trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, which was slated to release in November of 2019. We got the trailer in April of that same year, and
Meow.
yeah, yikes, people did not like this movie. But surprising everyone, they announced that the movie was being pushed back to 2020, so they can fix the design and make Sonic the Hedgehog look less like a dying rat, and more like Sonic the Hedgehog. All of a sudden, Sonic fans went from writing off this movie as just another shit show to, well, actually happy that Paramount was willing to listen to the criticism and adjust accordingly. who knows, the movie might end up being good. Now, this isn't a video about the Sonic movie, so I promise not to get too carried away here, but I think it's important to contextualize the state video game movies were in. People went from dreading them, worried that they'd bastardize the source material, to actively hyped for them. To me, it's no coincidence that after the Sonic movie, we got Monster Hunter, Mortal Kombat, Werewolves Within, Uncharted, even a second Sonic movie, this time with Tails and Knuckles appearing in it too. Plus, we're getting a Five Nights at Freddy's movie later this year, and a Minecraft movie starring Jason Momoa in 2025. Dude, this shit's crazy. Naturally, Nintendo didn't want the Blue Hedgehog to take all the limelight, but were pretty burned at their last attempt at adapting their most popular property into a movie. Sure, SMB93 had its fans, but it was almost universally seen as a bad movie. I mean, Bob Hoskins in an interview with The Guardian said that that movie was his worst job, his biggest disappointment, and if he could ever go back in time to prevent himself from doing something, that would be it. And let me assure you, Bob Hoskins has been in some shit movies. If Nintendo was gonna get involved in the movie industry again, they had to make sure they chose the right people to make it. So instead, they chose Illumination. Okay, alright, to be fair, it makes sense why they chose to go with them, I guess. Super Nintendo World, a Nintendo-themed section in Universal Studios, was in the midst of being built in Japan, which gave Miyamoto, the Nintendo representative director and actual real-life father of Luigi, the chance to talk with Chris Meledandri, Illumination CEO. And as fate would have it, Nintendo announced in 2018 that a new Super Mario Bros. Movie was being produced, this time with Illumination and Universal Studios at the helm. And there was nothing we could do about it. Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This might be seen as like a scorching hot take by some, but I think Illumination has one good movie, and that good movie isn't even that great. Sure, I can watch Despicable Me a bunch of times and find some good in there, sure, but like, The Secret Life of Pets? The Lorax? Sing 2? Listen, it's a cold day in hell before I admit that Hop is worth watching. So yeah, I don't think my worries about this movie were misplaced. They had a lot to prove, especially because the Sonic movie wasn't total ass. Well, we waited and waited, and eventually the movie was released for our viewing pleasure. Okay, alright, I'm being too mean to this movie. I don't hate it, Let's get into the plot. We start with an Ice Kingdom getting invaded by Koopas. Bowser, their king, is in search of something called the Power Star, which will give him enough power to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. After destroying their castle and finding said star, he proclaims that nobody will be able to stop him now. We then hard cut to the Super Mario Brothers, who just released their first commercial as a plumbing duo. While they're taunted by their old boss, Spike, for being too corny, the commercial actually proves successful, and Luigi gets a call that they have a job at a luxury apartment. Even though the job was just to fix a leaky sink, it doesn't go too smoothly, as the homeowner's dog ends up ruining everything. You see, there's this whole scene where Luigi accidentally breaks the dog's bone. Not like breaks his bones, like his spine. He didn't like Mortal Kombat fatality them. It was more like he had this toy dog chew bone thing that Luigi stepped on, and the dog got pissed at him, and then ruins the job. Anyway, yeah, the job doesn't go too well, so the bros head back home to eat dinner with their family. Now, much like a normal Italian-American family, the boys get roasted for their commercial, with his dad even going as far as to say that they're stupid for quitting their old job, and Mario's only bringing Luigi down. Mario, upset, goes to sulk in his room. Luigi goes with him to give him some comfort, but they both end up seeing a news broadcast that downtown Brooklyn is being flooded due to some faulty plumbing in the sewer system. Mario sees this as a chance to prove himself, and gets Luigi to come with him to fix the pipes and save Brooklyn. While inside, the bros find a large green pipe. They both get sucked into it and are whisked away to the magical Mushroom Kingdom. Ooh, how does this happen every time? Luigi, who's terrified for his life, is comforted by Mario, who says that as long as they stick together, nothing bad can happen to them. Approximately 1 femtosecond later, Mario and Luigi are separated, with Luigi landing in Bowser's domain, and Mario landing at the entrance of the Mushroom Kingdom. He's found by a nearby Toad, named Toad, who helps him get acquainted with the land. Mario mentions that he got separated from his brother, who landed in this evil, dark, spooky thundercloud place. Toad warns him that that land belongs to the most evil man imaginable, Bowser. Bowser is not a man, Bowser's a turtle, sorry for the confusion. Toad takes Mario to Princess Peach, who he believes is the only person who can help Mario get his brother back. Peach, however, is busy with her own problems. She's worried that her kingdom is about to be, invaded by Bowser and his troops, and fears that the only thing that can save them is the power of the Kong army. So she starts her journey to go to the Jungle Kingdom and go, pretty please, can I have your army? I fucking hate this bit. Why is it in this script? But not before bumping into Mario. Bing Bing Wahoo Man explains his situation, and Peach agrees to let him come with her, after they cram in some training. Meanwhile, Bowser and his goons are celebrating their victory at the Ice Kingdom. Bowser announces to his army that he plans to use the power of the Power Star to ask Peach to marry her. You would too, don't lie. Mario, Peach, and Toad then head to the Jungle Kingdom to ask Cranky Kong, their leader, for the Kong army. They camp out for the night at a field of fire flowers, and Peach reflects on how she got to the Mushroom Kingdom, not even truly remembering where she's from. Mario suggests that she might be from Brooklyn, and Peach profusely vomits at the idea of being Italian-American. That happens in the movie. It doesn't happen in the movie. I just thought it was funny. We cut back to Bowser, who's playing a love ballad on the piano, dedicated to Peach. It sounds like this. Okay, that's enough. The song is interrupted by Kamek, who informs Bowser that Peach is headed to the Jungle Kingdom with some mysterious mustachioed man. And Toad. Bowser is extremely pissed at this news, because what if Peach falls in love with him and not Bowser? Conveniently, though, some Shy Guys approach his throne with Luigi captured as a prisoner. Bowser interrogates him, asking if he thinks Peach and Mario will end up together. Ultimate Wingman Luigi says there's no way in hell they're not fucking after this, so Bowser throws him into his lava dungeon in hopes of antagonizing Mario more. Eventually, Mario, Peach, and Toad make their way to the Jungle Kingdom and ask Cranky Kong for help. Cranky initially shoos them away, but Mario doesn't take no for an answer. Cranky, amused by his bravery, cuts them a deal. If Mario can defeat his son Donkey Kong in an arena match, they will lend the Mushroom Kingdom the Kong army. If they lose, Toad will get publicly executed or something. Off to the arena they go! The fight isn't looking too good for Mario. DK is handing his ass to him on a silver platter, but the tides turn when Mario gets a Super Bell power-up and manages to defeat Donkey Kong. Cranky, as a result, begrudgingly gives his army to Peach. Mario and Peach rest outside DK's hut, with Peach swooning over Mario's ability and competence, but DK, ultimate cockblocker, pulls up and says, I let him win. Cranky, at the hut, suggests that they take carts back to the Mushroom Kingdom, as it's the fastest way to get there, and they can potentially ambush the Koopas. However, this plan doesn't go as planned. Bowser overhears from the Koopa General, biggest Mario hater of all time, that the Kongs are planning an ambush. Bowser then quickly plans to ambush their ambush and sends the Koopas out to the road to kill the Kongs. Peach and Toad are able to escape, but Cranky and the rest of the Kongs are captured. Mario and Donkey Kong aren't so lucky, however. The Koopa General tries to fucking kill Mario with his giant, cart crusher machine thing. He crushes the cart, but not Mario, so Mario jumps onto DK's cart. The Koopa General then decides that he'd rather be fucking dead than even think about letting Mario live. So he turns into the classic Mario Kart Blue Shell and crashes into Mario and DK. Both of them, nearly dead, fall into the water and get eaten by a giant eel. Peach and Toad manage to get back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and Peach warns everyone that Bowser is coming. I'm laughing because in the script I wrote, like the meme, Bowser is what? What is he doing? The Koopa King approaches Peach and asks for her hand in marriage. She says, ew, gross, so Kamek almost publicly executes Toad. We came full circle. Peach changes her mind in exchange for that none of her Toads will be hurt. Bowser agrees, and it's time to prep for the wedding. Mario and Donkey Kong, meanwhile, are still alive inside the giant eel. It's like a Pinocchio situation. Or, like, Moby Dick, maybe? Does Ishmael get eaten by Moby Dick in the book? I feel like he has to. He probably does. Like, why else would that book exist? However, there isn't a Jiminy Cricket or Captain Ahab to help our heroes out of the situation, so they begin to argue about whose fault this is. Donkey Kong talks about how he's nothing but a disappointment to his father, and Mario says that his dad thinks he's nothing but a loser too. These guys are so relatable. They eventually find Donkey Kong's cart, which was also eaten by the eel, and use one of the rocket thrusters on it to escape and rescue the Mushroom Kingdom once and for all. It's wedding time! As guests take their seat, Toad gives Peach her bouquet of flowers. After she walks down the aisle, Bowser announces that everyone they've captured, including Luigi and Cranky Kong, are all going to be sacrificed in her honor. In response, she throws her bouquet to reveal some ice flowers, freezes Bowser, and starts fighting the Goods, just in time for Mario and Donkey Kong to make their way back from the giant eel. They rescue Cranky, Luigi, and the other Kongs, and help get rid of the rest of Bowser's army. As the gang celebrates a job well done, Bowser breaks free from his ice prison. Did you like that? Breaks free. The fight continues through the warp pipe into Brooklyn. There, Mario and Luigi, using the help of the Power Star Bowser stole, defeat Bowser and save Brooklyn, right before Mario has a realistic depiction of a panic attack. The day is saved, Bowser gets turned tiny, and Mario and Luigi open up a new plumbing shop in the Mushroom Kingdom. Alright, yeah, we did it! All the plot synopses are over! Now let's get into this generic, milquetoast, average movie. Look, I'm not mad at how it turned out, because as we'll definitely get into, the Mario references here are pretty damn good. But that doesn't stop this movie from being just another Illumination film. One of the better ones for sure, but it just seems so careless with its plot and characters, like Toad, for instance. Toad is one of the most underutilized characters in this entire movie, and that's fine, he doesn't need to be super important, he's Toad, but the movie makes it seem like he's going to be a bigger deal. Once Mario's done with his training and him and Peach go off to the Jungle Kingdom, they're stopped by Toad, who says, excuse me, can I come with you guys? Because Mario is my best friend ever, and I need to come on this journey to protect you. And that is the last time Mario and Toad ever exchange a sentence to each other. Best friend? Really? Maybe they're trying to do an angle where Toad's like this loner that nobody likes, so he clings on to people when he sees them, but you have to have a scene or two showing that, you know? It's like that entire best friend part of his character is dropped once he becomes determined to protect Princess Peach at all costs. And, if that's the direction you want to take, why not make him more of a Peach fanboy from the onset? But I will say for the most part that the characters and story do work. Bowser is pretty fun. I like that his motivation is that he's in love with Peach, and not that he's some evil dude who wants to take over the world because he wants to take over the world. Also, Mario's motivation is clear and relatable. He wants to prove to himself and his dad that he's not some dummy, idiot, stupid fucking loser, and actually capable of doing some good things every now and then. What's cool about this is that Donkey Kong kind of parallels Mario throughout this, because Cranky thinks that Donkey is also a disappointment fucking loser, idiot fucking moron, stupid. When they go from enemies to, I guess, frenemies, you get this real sense that they have a connection. Or at least you're supposed to. That's the thing. I think that sometimes this movie forgets that it's a movie that needs to have believable relationships between the characters. In most movies, or at least good movies, two characters that start off hating each other and end up liking each other by the end of the movie can be a fun trope. I don't think Mario and Donkey Kong have a single heart-to-heart this entire movie. Okay, they have one inside the giant eel with Starbuck and Geppetto. Donkey Kong explains that he's nothing but a big joke to his dad, and Mario says, yeah, well, my dad thinks I'm a joke too. But Illumination, because they can't help themselves, has Donkey Kong say a line like, well, your dad's right. This is already a movie that throws a joke at you every 4 seconds. It wouldn't have killed them to throw in one heartfelt moment between two characters that are gonna start acting buddy-buddy very soon after. Again, nothing I said really ruins the movie. It just stops it from being really great in my eyes. I remember pretty soon after this movie came out, people on Twitter were saying stuff like, well, did you really expect this to be at the same level of quality as a Pixar movie? And yeah? Why would I hold two different films to two different standards? I mean, I'm not gonna go comparing Pulp Fiction to the Paw Patrol movie, but I don't think it's crazy to compare a children's 3D animated film with a children's 3D animated film. Yeah, this movie is made for kids, so I guess they didn't have to try, but they also didn't have to try for films like Monsters, Inc., Coraline, or hell, even Kung Fu Panda. But because they did, those movies are much more memorable and iconic. Any other problem I have with this movie really just comes down to personal preference. It would have been nice to see Luigi more in this movie. Once he and Mario get separated, he only really shows up every now and then, but I can understand the writers not wanting to focus on a character that ultimately doesn't have a lot going on. So instead of complaining about that, let's complain about the cast. When it was officially announced who would be playing who, I think it was hard for all of us not to lose it. Like, I joked about it at the beginning of the video, but seeing Donkey Kong played by Seth Rogen might have actually popped some of the blood vessels in my brain. Like, they're all gone, there's no vessels in here. So even if I would have preferred for voice actors to get these voice-acted roles, I think for a celebrity cast, they did pretty good. Charlie Day as Luigi had that perfect manic energy. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad had some great peppiness to his voice. Anya Taylor-Joy was a great choice for the girl boss angle they go for Peach. And do I need to say anything about Jack Black as Bowser? If there's one thing I've seen everyone agree on, it's that Jack Black killed it as Bowser, and yeah, I'd agree. I think that he was an amazing choice. Though there are 3 performances that I'm not a big fan of, or I guess like 2.5 technically. And again, let me clarify that I don't think any of this means that the movie is complete garbage. Okay, let's move on. I don't think Fred Armisen is doing the right voice for Cranky. I mean, if that's his interpretation of the character, fine, but he sounds like he's sick, like he talks like this. He talks like this. I don't know, it's kind of the same problem I had with Dennis Hopper. It's not that I think he's giving a bad performance, I just think it's bad direction. There's no reason for him to sound like the common colds from The Kids Next Door, you know? But either way, he's not the Kong that I hate the most. Seth Rogen as Donkey. I mean, what a miscast, am I right? According to my fucking Letterboxd review of when I first saw the movie, I said, and I quote, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong is cursed, but I don't hate it. And I don't think that's true anymore. I think I do kind of hate it. Look, Rogen is easy to meme on for sure, but I don't think he's a bad actor when given roles that fit him. There's a reason he's in so many stoner comedies. It's because he works well in them. But with Donkey Kong, I don't know, something about hearing Seth Rogen's laugh come out of Donkey Kong's ape mouth is just so wrong. It's cursed. It's the only way to put it. Now, I'm not saying I want DK to be all, ooh, banana, but there has to be something else they could have done to make him sound more Donkey Kong-like. It's so weird because I can't articulate why I don't like this specific casting. I just don't. Now for the main man himself, the moment you've all been waiting for, Chris Pratt as Mario. Look, the trailers were rough. I mean, the whole Mushroom Kingdom, here we come line made me lose all hope, but Pratt kind of pulled it together in the end. A little bit. Kind of. A little. Teensy bit. Pratt doesn't really do a voice for Mario. He kind of just does his normal voice. I mean, there's a little bit of that Brooklyn, hey, forget about it air to it, but not really that much. So it just makes me wish he went all the way with it, or not at all. I mean, if Chris Pratt just did his normal-ass voice for this, it would have been funny, sure, but I think it would have worked better. I mean, Pratt has voice acted before. He was Emmett in the Lego Movie, and there he was just doing his normal voice, but it worked so well because it felt like he was just acting, not trying to imitate an already established voice. But somewhere in the film's production, he must have realized that, because every now and then, Pratt throws in a wahoo or yippee, and you know what? It sounds like a pretty solid Mario impression. So then why wasn't he doing the it's-a-me voice the entire movie? The answer is because it would have been annoying as shit, but I can't help but feel that a more skilled voice actor would have been able to take the already established Mario voice and make it tolerable for an hour and a half. A more skilled voice actor like Charles Martinet. This is an interesting problem unique to this specific Mario movie. Back when the last Mario movie came out, we were still in the SNES days, so Mario didn't have an established voice yet. I mean, we have the cartoons, but those don't really count, you know? Now, in the modern day, we all have a solid idea of what Mario's supposed to sound like. He's been voiced by Charles Martinet since the 1994 hit game Mario Teaches Typing. So, the casting department was left in a tough spot. Do they ditch the old voice and try to give him a new one, or do they give the voice actor the voice he's been doing for years? Funnily enough, something similar happened with 2020 Scoob. Instead of Grey DeLisle and Matthew Lillard voicing Daffy and Shaggy, like they pretty much always have, they were replaced by famous people, and they were not happy about it. And they had every right not to be either. I would throw Frank Welker in there too, since he didn't get to reprise his role as Fred, but he at least got the role of Scooby back, so he got something. Martinet, unfortunately, is not in the same boat as Welker. He does have 2 roles in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. They at least pay homage to him somewhere, but it's not like he's getting his characters. In this film, he plays the role of Mario's disapproving father, as well as some random Brooklynite that does the typical Yahoo Mario voice. And he does a good job, but I don't know, man. I just can't help but feel that he's skilled enough to just do the voices he's always been doing. He would definitely have to rethink it, because I don't think Mario's voice as is would be good for a full movie, but that's what voice acting is, right? And plus, we've heard Martinet do full sentences with these characters before. There were like random events and Twitter takeovers where Martinet did the voices for Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, and you know what? They work pretty damn well. Hell, in the 2018 game WarioWare Gold, Martinet does full voice acting for Wario, and I don't think it's half bad.
Hey, look here, it's a Wario. I'm hosting the greatest video game tournament of all time here in Diamond City.
The random raspberries he does in the middle of lines are stupid, but the voice itself is solid. So I know he's capable, why not just give him his roles? I'm just so sick of celebrity castings when they don't make any fucking sense. The genie from Aladdin ruined everything. It ruined all cinema. Yeah, that's pretty much it on the casting. But shout out to Kevin Michael Richardson, who did the voice of Kamek. He does like this nerd loser voice. It works great. And that is everything that I have to say about this film as a film. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it also leaves a lot to be desired. We'll call it an Illumination specialty. But the real joy I get from this movie are all the fucking references to the source material. You can tell Miyamoto worked closely with the team, because this is the most Mario a Mario movie has felt. Granted, this one has a special advantage because there's so much Mario history to pull from, but dude, shut the fuck up. Can you let me have this? Now, we can't get into all the little references they do. We would be here all day, but trust me when I say that this is a movie made for Mario fans, not for animation fans. When I saw this movie, like, the weekend it came out, I was with Jeannie and my little brother Robert, who's also a huge Mario fan. And there were so many times where we would turn to each other with like a soy jack face saying stuff like, "That's the theme from Captain Toad Treasure Tracker." You know, like every normal person does. The music is especially a highlight. When Bowser's airship is coming...
When Bowser is coming, dude!
The music here is especially a highlight. When Bowser's castle is flying over the Ice Kingdom, we hear the Airship Fortress theme, Toad's introduction has that aforementioned Captain Toad Treasure Tracker theme, and when Luigi's exploring the Darklands, we hear themes from Luigi's Mansion. Overall, the composer of the Mario movie score, Brian Tyler, clearly knew Mario music. Koji Kondo, the original composer for a lot of Mario games, did help out here and there, so I'm sure Tyler was largely influenced by him, but still. Tyler, in some interviews, claims to be a huge Mario fan, and you know what? I believe him. This doesn't sound like corporate interview speak, it sounds genuine.
It is like a tribute lovingly to all the fans, and all of us, fan included, that played the games, but also bring in a whole new world of a new audience too.
So yeah, the score to this film is honestly perfect. Or it would have been if Illumination didn't throw in, like, stupid fucking 80s pop songs. Like, I'm fine with pop songs in films. When they work, you know? But is there any reason to have Take On Me by a-ha playing while Mario and co are exploring the Jungle Kingdom? Or does that scene only exist so parents who only ever see movies with their kids can go, "Ah, the good old days"? It's just sloppy, lazy, unartistic. And I can't blame Brian Tyler for this, because he apparently wrote music inspired by Donkey Kong Country for this scene. So all this stupid music was put in the movie because some big figurehead at Illumination or Universal said, "This movie won't sell unless we have AC/DC's Thunderstruck." But yeah, besides the insistence to use No Sleep Till Brooklyn during the Mario Brooklyn running scene, I do think that the score is pretty good. Really, every Mario reference here is top-notch, like the visuals and all the small little references you find just from looking around. I want to rapid-fire a couple of them right now so you can get an idea of what I mean. At the beginning of the movie, when Mario and Luigi are in the sewers of Brooklyn, you can see a sign that says something like, "Now we're entering level 1-2, like the original 1-2 from Super Mario Bros. Mario at one point thinks that he has a mushroom that'll make him big and strong, but it's blue, not red, so in the back of my head I was like, it's gonna turn him small, and sure enough I was right, as always. When we see the audience of Kongs watching Mario and DK's fight, we not only get a line from Diddy Kong, but we also see Dixie, Chunky, and Swanky Kong too. There's a scene when Mario, Peach, and Toad are building go-karts to a race, and they have the same kart customization system you see in Mario Kart 8, including actual card designs from that game! I could go on, but there's no need to. You get the point. So, you see why I'm so conflicted about this movie? As a Mario fan, I want to say that this film is perfect, but as a cinephile, God, I hate that word, it's just another mid-animated family movie. It's no different from something like The Boss Baby or Cars. If you're someone who doesn't like or care about Mario, then there's no reason to see this besides to point and laugh. I bet you didn't even make it this far in the video, so it doesn't even matter. But if you do like Mario, then you probably already saw the movie, so this whole conversation is pointless, is what I'm saying. And there we go. We talked about everything there was to talk about, at least at the time of me making this video. Knowing how well the Super Mario Bros. Movie did in the box office, it made $1 billion, by the way. I'm sure a sequel is inevitable. There was a Yoshi tease at the end of the first Mario movie, so they're really just letting anybody into this movie. I mean, when's my turn? Overall, I do think a good Mario movie can work. And I mean, some of these films prove themselves in one way or another. It's just a shame that none of them really hit it out of the park. Each one may have had some or many problems, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this weird little retrospective. It was nice to see where the Mario property was before I was born, you know? And please don't get the impression that I'm some sour stick in the mud that can't enjoy anything. If the next Mario movie they make is a banger, I'll be the first to admit it. Either way, I'm excited for the future of Mario & Co. It seems like we're finally getting out of that squeaky clean, sanitized era of the Wii and Wii U, and I'm just excited to see where it'll go next. It's not a bad thing when other people or companies or whatever try their hand at creating a story with someone else's characters. Miyamoto! Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle for the Switch is a fantastic example of that. And that's me complimenting a Rabbids game. Like, come on, be so serious. If films are a medium Nintendo's going to pursue, I hope that they'll learn what worked and didn't from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and use that to create better films. I don't think I'm crazy in saying that they need their Into the Spider-Verse or OG Little Mermaid moment that completely revitalizes what their films can be, or even video game films as a whole. We're getting closer and closer to video games being seen by the general public as an art form and not just mindless entertainment. And I truly cannot wait until the day I see a piece of fiction that's based off of a video game that impacts me the same way something like 12 Angry Men or Whiplash did. No, I haven't seen HBO's The Last of Us. How are you?